In the last video, I built the ATM Star. This time, I 100%ed all the mods 10 to the sky. That meant completing every single quest, making every piece of armor, making every bee, every tree, and mastering every single mod. This journey took forever. So sit back and relax. Trying to 100% this mod pack. Here's where it gets pretty nuts. So I have a million other things. So I completed chapter 1. Chapter 2 is completed, except for this one. I forgot to make these ones. So let me just get that ready. 3. Got it. That did it. Okay. That completed everything. Cool. So at this point, my goal was to make a single ATM star block, and to help me out, I needed 2 massive AE2 multi-blocks. I started off by making tons of recipes for all these items, and I had to use these crucibles to bring lava into my storage system. Turns out I would need like hundreds more singularities, so I threw an import bus on top of this matter condenser, and I sped the entire thing up. Once the singularity started coming in, I could start making the items needed for a quantum computer. The first item was a crafting unit, and then I had to make like 49 structural glasses. The next few items were the really heavy ones. There was the quantum computer accelerator and 228 million quantum storage, which took a while to finish. I got those 2 specifically for the quests, and they were used to make a 256 million quantum storage unit. Anyway, after following all the quests and super speeding the singularities, I had all the items necessary to build a 7x7x7 quantum computer multi-block. The outside was made out of glass, and then the insides had a computing core, the quantum storage, the quantum multi-threader, and 3 quantum crafting units. I also threw in like a stack of accelerators in there as well. The moment this machine lit up, I knew it was working. This makes auto crafting as fast as possible. After scrapping the old coprocessors, I made an iron singularity to see how much quicker it was, and it ended up being significantly faster. The next multi-block I needed was called the assembler matrix, and this was significantly easier to make. I just had to change the matter condenser to output matter balls instead. This machine was built in the exact same way as the quantum computer. I had to make a 7x7x7 frame filled in with matrix walls. Inside of the machine were like 5 speed cores, 60 pattern cores, and 60 craft cores. Oh my freaking goodness. Holy crap. So all y'all gotta go. Where is it? Which one else? I need to make 64. Let's make 164. And we'll see how that's working. Oh my god, this is insane, dude. And once this is done, before I craft the next one, I need to set these up in a better way. Awesome. Awesome, and then it should be like this. Is this the goal? Do I need to set that for everything? No shot, right? Okay, it's working. Dude, what a freaking process. Oh my god, what an annoying freaking process. But yeah, look how much faster it is. Dude, we got it done in 2 minutes? Oh my god, this is freaking ridiculous. 256 M mega storage component, you're mine. And make sure nothing's left in here. Okay, let's do the infinity cobblestone cell. Let's freaking go. Now, out of our system, there we go. We have it. Cobble wise, if I wanted to get a 7 times compressed one, there we go. We can make, I don't know, 9 of them. That one's quick. We'll do 2 at a time, seems like the fastest way. That's 9. That should be enough for 9 pulsating black holes. If you've noticed anything, at this point, I thought I only needed like 1 ATM star block. I didn't realize it was 2. So a lot of the things I did would have to be doubled. I needed a much better way to make these singularities for extended crafting. So I used the back corner of the Oratech area and set up a wireless connector there. Here I placed 6 pattern providers, and I snatched up all the recipes that I had for these singularities, and I've spread those out. On top of these things, I set up 6 quantum compressors. Every single chest and all the pipes both had Omega upgrades and Netherite upgrades. This way I could just push in and out as many items as possible. One One of the items I really needed was glowstone, so I turned on the witch spawner, and I decided to just hook this mob farm chest directly into the system. From there, I made a 7 times compressed cobblestone block, which I turned into gravel, and using that I was able to fit 4.7 million gravel into the sieves. Behind my old unobtainium furnace, I set up a second one, and this was just meant to cook up all these G-ore shards. To make 9 ultimate singularities, I was missing lapis and glowstone. For lapis, I threw in 2 more lapis G-ores, and I just had to wait for glowstone to pile up. So while that was working, I ripped down these beehives and set them up in a slightly different way to fit more bees in. To make everything more efficient for later, I even built a drawer system to the right of these bees, and using modular routers with a distribution card, I was bringing in all of the combs into a storage controller. This thing was working extremely well. To process all these combs, right next to the drawers, I had an access point, and that would push the combs into centrifuges, which were then hooked up to my system. Once that was done, I set up an autocraft for omega upgrades, which I threw into as many hives as I could. Oh yeah, at this point, I was like also periodically getting antimatter pellets, and I think around this point I had gotten 9. Turns out I kept needing blaze rods for these bee upgrades, so I grabbed some blaze DNA, and I turned this wither skeleton spawner into a blaze one instead. The bees at this point were so fast, I had to make 2 centrifuges to keep up. Then, to make more pulsating black holes, I actually had to craft extra dirt seeds, and I had to fit more growth accelerators onto this mystical agricultural farm. In order to just make 9 black holes, I needed millions more redstone. Once I had this crafter making dirt and logs, I finally smartened up and realized it was time to make hydroponic beds. To make this, I first grabbed a sewage composter and a sewer, which I placed near some animals to pick up this sewage, and that got turned into fertilizers. And finally, I could make the hydroponic beds, which were set up right next to the crafter. It had to pull in water and ether gas. It took me 20 minutes to realize you could actually plant the seeds directly on top of this thing. Doing this, I was able to level up this simulation processor for dirt seeds, and once I got it up to a high enough level, I could move it into this simulated hydroponic bed, which actually needs nothing but power to work. While that was working, I began leveling up wood seeds. Around this time, I could finally ask my storage system to make me 9 ultimate singularities. By the way, I needed 18. This was still a massive process, which required so many machines. One of the items I couldn't get enough of was obsidian, and thanks to Gaming with Flame and his speedrun, it turns out there was a much better way to get millions of obsidian. I had to use an item called the Tome of Alkahestry, and to get this thing, I first set up some arcane platforms, and using that, I got air essences. That was then used to make a glyph of lightning. And this is about the time that I realized I would need 18 ATM star items, not 9, so I was just completely shocked. This is also when 9 ultimate singularities also finished. So after storing that, I wiped out 2 Wildland Chimeras, and I got the Archmage spellbook. Then I needed a supercharged creeper, so I opened a gateway in the end, and it got me exactly the mob drop that I needed. Now to use this tome, I had a crafter pull in redstone, which acts as a charge for the Tome of Alkahestry. Then using those charges, I was able to output 5 obsidian for every stack of redstone. Once I set up this ME interface properly, I was pulling in thousands of obsidian very quickly. As that was piling up, I upgraded my spellbook all the way up to unobtainium, which was going to help me complete chapter 3 for later. I then grabbed all of my draconic bees to make them meta-eternal. As those guys were turning, I made a glyph of extract so that I could have a silk touch spell, and this was so I could harvest a regular bee nest. Using the bee nest and a diamond helmet, I could spawn in these things called kamikaze bees, who were all very high productivity. I set up this catcher with a range upgrade and tons of cages. From there, I just needed to take damage with this helmet on. This worked so well, I had an inventory full of these bees. At first, I just had these guys in a hive with this gene upgrade, but that was super slow. Later on, I actually managed to squish them properly and pick up the squashed bee material. While I was doing this, the Tome of Alkahestry had already made me 215k obsidian. I was even able to make 9 more ultimate singularities. At this point, I was running out of fluorite, so I threw in 4.7 million sand into this sieve chest. From there, I actually decided to grab one of the easier items, and that was the wither compass. The first thing I did was autocraft 36 8 times nether star generators. I then grabbed about 20 wither predictions, and then using these hoppers and the time wand, I was able to make a bunch of empowered diamondite crystal blocks. The last few items were just like 18 wither builders and 18 player interfaces. To make these wither roses though, it was a little bit harder. I tried putting gas into the spawner, but that was an awful idea. While making the roses, I actually ran out of other mob drops, so I took a break to put away all the Metaternal bees into the hives. Around this time, I had 600k obsidian, and then I did a slime gateway on the mob farm just to get the drops. I actually completed 2 gateways of the Hellish Fortress or whatever for spawners, and these were used to farm skeleton drops and creeper drops. Finally, doing all that, I had 18 wither compasses and 18 ultimate singularities. For the next item, I had to craft 54 nitro batteries, and I began fitting them all into my curio slot so that they could charge. All of this was for the improbable probability device, which I began making recipes for. This Tome of Alkahestry had gotten me 1 million obsidian, so I actually swapped it over to making dirt instead, and that was even faster. At this point, all of my bees were Metaternal, so I placed them back in the hives, and then inside of the nether, I completed another gateway for another spawner, and this one was used to spawn gas so that I could fill up 18 of these syringes. This thing actually took quite a while. Using those syringes, I had 18 flight modules, and I also started the craft for 16 million storage cells. And then I had to get this vibrant capacitor bank, so I had to put down a pattern provider underneath the alloy smelter. After connecting this entire thing up, I could actually autocraft the 18 capacitor banks. I just had to hit the machine with a time wand here or there. From there, I was missing 5 more antimatter pellets and 18 large energy storage. To make that thing, I first crafted blocks of biofuel, which I ran through the centrifuge 2 times to get plastic sheets. With these sheets, I got a ton of processing units, which I turned into flux gates. Using this though, I was able to autocraft 18 of the large energy storage, and then while the antimatter was working, I made a bunch more compressed sand and gravel blocks since I was actually getting close to be able to make the 18 pulsating black holes. Still, I was lacking on iron, gold, and redstone, so I had this separate furnace only cook those shards. The next day, to reduce lag, I moved the witch spawner so that it was separate from all the others. This way I could just keep it running non-stop. Because I was already waiting for the antimatter, I began crafting all the recipes needed to make 18 Philosopher's Fuel. This one actually seemed kind of easy. I already managed to pick up 18 Diorum blocks, and then using the Empowerers, I even got the 18 Empowered Canola Seeds very quickly. To help me out with making unobtainium furnaces, I needed soul lava. I set up a stasis chamber in front of my trapped wither and built basically the same setup, but this time it was going to be used to trap a warden. Using an imprisonment tool, I brought this dude over to these machines, and after a little bit of finicking, I had soul lava collecting inside of the drawer, which was hooked up to my system. To get these ATM G-ore stuff, I first filled the foundry tank with lava, and it turns out I needed to melt 8 blocks of each tier, and then pour that over 5 time compressed sand blocks. Sadly, this meant I could only get budding Aldemodium G-ore and budding Vibranium G-ore. To put these 2 items in, I had to create another layer of growth accelerators, but once that was done, I had all the Modium shards and Vibranium shards flying into the chest. Before leaving to get Unobtainium, I could actually craft 18 improbable probability devices. Then I upgraded to an Unobtainium pickaxe. I also put like 2 gems of socketing on it so that I could put this +4 fortune gem on this thing. Let's look up pulsating again. How close are we to this? I need, 1 million more of those, and then 41,000 wood. Isn't too bad. The wood we can get. There we go. Cool. Okay. Oh, there we go. We got tons. Holy crap. Should be enough. Alright, cool. Speed this bad boy up. Grab another soul lava. And chuck all you boys in here. Will that work? That will work. And that's 2 budding unobtainium. Cool. So you're gonna go in the corners. And the corners. Is that working? Yes, it is. Now we're getting unobtainium. Cool. I set up recipes for that. Metaternal. That's pretty good. More Metaternal. Cool. Take all that. No issue with that. Strong, thanks. Okay, let's just wait for this one to run out, and then we're good. I think that's enough. Oh, that's how you do it. I'm an idiot. There we go. Tons of jeans coming in. And I need... Oh, there we go. One of these. I need to turn that into a honey tree thing. Good. I think I figured out how to do it, so let's go grab my kamikaze bees. How many do I have? There, that's how you do it. And now I can actually get these very high productivity ones too. How are we doing? Oh, very high. There you go. 3 of these very high ones. There we go. Okay. Honey treats. We got a bunch of very highs. There. Now you're very high. Okay, cool. Very high productivity. We're chilling. Next guy. Come here. Very high productivity. Very high Metaternal. Very high Metaternal. Dude. Have you laid an egg yet by any chance? Do I need 2 chickens? Oh, there it is. So it's, you and you. Hey, draconic. Oh my god, hold on. What is this for? Holy crap. Wait, how did I unlock all these? I guess they were just part of the same quest. Thanks, bro. What the heck? So use. Boom, craft. Draconium bee spawn egg. That's awaken bee. We got that. To get chaos bee though. Oh. How many of those chaos fragments do we have? Chaotic bee. I can't believe we have enough. That's crazy. Oh my god. There we go. Awaken to chaos. Holy crap. Okay. And do we have any of these Metaternal? Do we have any more of these Metaternals? Gotcha. You're very high. And I'm gonna leave you out, I think. Here for another water bee. I'm gonna breed these 2. Water bee? There, 7, there we go. You got weather tolerance any? Oh, look at these guys. Their temper's the only thing that's annoying, but... Oh! What? No, it's starting. Dude, 18 pulsating black holes. Oh my god, look at this. Singularity, how much? So for 18 of these, I have enough. 450k. And lapis, I need 18 lapis. Do I have enough for those? Ooh, I need 200k more lapis. Jeez. 80% done. We're close to the iron. That's the first one that we started. Then we got gold, which hasn't been any. But it's doing copper and emerald. So we got those cooking. How freaking sick is this? This took forever. 18 pulsating black holes. My god, that's that done. Now, let's go back to the unobtainium furnace. We still need 18 of these. We do not have enough. That's the center, I'm assuming? Yeah, oh no, this is gonna be annoying. Waste one. There it is. Turn my shader off. There we go. It really is like a lot easier this time. Done. Alright, we're good. Beat this guy up now. And Chaos Guardian number 2. You're done. Finally. There's shards. One of you stay there. And Big B, you're here, my boy. Pull in the Chaos Combs. We're getting tiny Chaos Fragments, bro. Oh my god. We did it. This guy's pulling like crazy, too. Let's grab all of our singularities, all the 18 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it. Yeah, 3. Oh my god, look at this chaos stuff, dude. We need to make 18 Draconic Reactor. That's crazy. And let's hook this bad boy up. Get it up to a decent amount. Alright, there comes millions of Insanium. That's even more chaos. Look at that, 1400 chaos. Dude. Oh my god, 2000, brother. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. 18 witch vials. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18. So I need this thing. We're just gonna go to town. There you go, 18 sentient enders. We go back to philosophers. Okay, we got the sentient enders. Oh, we need 36. God dang. Pretty good. That should do it. Okay, that's all that done. We need more Insanium, by the way. Perfect. This should do it. That's for 18. Good. That'll do it. Done. Okay, let's go back to philosophers. Now, what else do we need for 18 of these? Alright. 158 Eclipse Ember. Okay, the furnaces are good. We're cranking that out. We got the furnaces done. It's literally, we're just waiting on the Eclipse Ember now. Which should be going pretty quick. That enough? Please. Oh my god, we did it. 18 Philosopher's Fuel. Holy crap. We're the last 3 items. The Oblivion Shard wasn't hard to get. I first set up the recipes to check what I needed. I quickly got the 36 time crystal blocks ready, and then I auto-crafted a stack of netherite blocks. After speeding up this breaker and placer, I was able to get tons of raw Eclipse alloy, and then from there, the only thing that was missing was the Manhattan module, which actually was pretty annoying. I first had to set up all the recipes for plutonium dusts, and then I started making as many plastic sheets as I possibly could. While all that was working, my system was making 138 plutonium dusts, which all got assembled into pellets. That was half the job done. Next up, I needed tons of silicone wafers, which were extremely tedious to make. I turned 2 stacks of processing units into 4 stacks of silicon wafers, and then had to work up multiple tiers to get up to super AI chips. This was then used to make the Heisenberg compensator, which was the last item needed to craft a Manhattan module. For this, I actually had to hook up 2 Enderic lasers just to speed things up, but that allowed me to get the 18 Oblivion shards. To get the 18 Nexium emitters, I made all the recipes leading up to a Nitro player transmitter. These things needed aerial pearls, so I threw in a zombie spawn egg into the spawner to help me out with that. The next item was a semiconductor, which was pretty easy to make since I had already done tons of work with Oratech. I also threw in recipes for machine frames. So there were like 3 items left. The wireless universal terminals could just be made inside of the storage system. So now I actually only needed 2 more items, and these were a little bit harder. For the gravitational modulating unit, I needed to make recipes for every single induction provider. It also needed thousands of lithium dust, so I had to hook up a chemical crystallizer in front of all of my thermal plants. After pulling dust into a drawer, I could actually autocraft 18 gravitational modulating units, which meant the only thing left was the mechanical arms. To make those, I actually had to set up 15 mechanical crafters. Using a large water wheel, I got these crafters to spin. Thankfully, it was temporary since I was going to move over to electric motors anyway. Using the first motor, I was able to craft the second one significantly quicker. And then I used an old setup for the precision mechanism. I had actually used this setup in like other mod packs. It's basically a bunch of encased chain drives pushing items through 3 deployers on a belt. To make sure only the precision mechanism gets outputted, I put a vault in the back with 2 different funnels. Once I got things all set up, it was actually pretty mesmerizing to watch it all go through. As those things were finishing up, I made tons of brass casings and was finally able to make 18 mechanical arms. The only thing that was taking a little bit of time at this point were these wireless transmitters. So as those were finishing up, I began setting up recipes for the Dragon Soul. As I put those into my system, 18 Nexium emitters were ready to go, which meant I just needed 1 more item. This Dragon Soul, however, was super tedious to make. I first had to sieve tons of soul sand for soulium dust. Then I made as many draconic evolution recipes as I could because I would have to like manually craft a lot of these cores. This was super expensive, but thanks to the chaotic bee, I had a source for a lot of chaos shards. I ended up making a mistake here by trying to automate these fusion crafters, but I had no clue what I was doing. That meant I had to scrap everything later anyway. Since I was still waiting for more chaos shards to pile up, I decided to move on to occultism really quickly. For this, I actually put chicken spawn eggs into one of these spawners just to let chickens pile up. For some reason, just to make these dragon souls, it needed a shocking amount of eggs. I was able to throw tons of feathers and black ink into the other fire, and this was all just to make a bunch of books of binding. From there, using a couple hoppers, I started doing the first ritual to make 18 fragile soul gems. Then with that, I could move on to the larger ritual, and I also automated that with hoppers. And after speeding everything up, I was making the empty soul gems very quickly. With that done, I stopped being dumb, and I just manually crafted all the draconic evolution cores. I actually ended up running out of draconium in between, so I had to crush more end stones and throw them into the sieves. After a bit, because it needed a lot of eggs, I was able to make the 18 inactive dragon eggs and also had the 18 chaotic cores ready to go. The last thing I needed was 18 focus of summonings, and for that I had to beat so many wild and chimeras. I even tried to take advantage of my capturing enchantment to see if I could get a spawn egg. That didn't work either. I did get 18 tributes though, and that allowed me to speed up this enchanting apparatus and make the focuses very quickly. After sleeping the night away, I got the 18 dragon souls and had everything needed to make 2 ATM star blocks. Okay, so that was what, about like 40 days of work to get all this, but I still need more unobtainium. I don't know how much I need. I think it's okay. But to make 1 ATM star, it takes 7 blocks of unobtainium. So to make 7 times 18. Dude, I'm having a hard time finding unobtainium here. Holy crap. Is that enough unobtainium? Doubt it. But let's cook it up and see. Oh, I gotta put this away. I do not want to break my entire base. 588. So if I want to do 7 times 18. Oh, I could do it. I'm missing 18 glowstone singularities. Oh no. How did I mess that up? 256. 256. 256. Should be doing it even quicker now. Alright, we're going for Starry B now. Or Patrick Star B. Who's this? Oily B. Not bad, actually. Oh, glowstone done. 16 of each? What am I missing? Is that not it? Okay, well, we'll add whatever we need on top. Will that work? That's everything. Oh, sorry. ATM. 18 ATM star. Dude. There goes 2 blocks. Holy freaking crap. We're here. Now Starry home time, which is a Starry B, which is a Patrick. You'll be a part of these guys. Who are you? It's just a regular B? Sponge B block pants. Alright, fine. Seem kind of rare. Imperium fishing rod next up. The premium. Oh my god. There's the premium fishing rod. Is there an Insanium one? No, it's the highest level. You can make it awakened. Finally. We need a ton of these. Productivity. The honey. Alright, let's first turn it into the Starry Bee. Awesome. Make you very high productivity. Weather tolerance to any. 100% Metatronal. Let's do it. Come here. You're also Metatronal. You're also strong. Temper is normal. If we set up recipes to make all of these, we should be able to. We should be pretty good. And now you're Metatronal and everything. That's Patrick Star. Saved. We got you. Can make you all the time. Which is good. Done. ATM Star. Oh my god, okay. Can we make 100? We're missing gravel. Cool. We can make infinite of these. Let's make 18. And then you swap over to that. Okay, good. There's a creative power source. We can do that. We can make a creative jetpack. That's one of the first ones that I want to make, actually. Got it. Maybe go take my jetpack off. Creative jetpack. Oh. We did it. That's creative jetpack done. Make 3 more of these as well. I think that's using up all these, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least these. Yeah, look at that. Oh, we did it. 3 256. Wait, that's 5 already. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And then 1 for us. It was time to get all the creative items and finish the last 2 main chapter quests. For chapter 3, I just needed to upgrade this Arcanist armor all the way up to Unobtainium. To do that, I began making tons of elemental essences. Then using an entropy manipulator, I also started grabbing ice blocks so that I could make ice seeds. This was of course for the water essence. Next up, I needed a Starbuncle charm, and to get that, I made nutritious chicken feed. After feeding that to some chickens, I got a golden egg, and this thing just allows for passive mobs to spawn. With the Starbuncle charm in hand, I had all the items needed to make a Mark of Mastery. Sadly, this was just the beginning of making this armor, so to help me out, I made an Unobtainium source jar, and I worked through all the tiers of this basic Arcanist set. This was so annoying to do, but I was eventually able to get a Pyromancer set, which could then be upgraded to the ATM tier. After making the Vibranium and the Unobtainium versions, I had most of the items done for chapter 3. After putting this armor down on an armor stand, I used a block generator, which was between Soul Lava and an ice block, and that was on top of an Aldemodium block. This was all just to make Ancient Stone. I also poured Soul Lava on top of these coils to get the high powered version, and this was part of the quest. But once I actually made this foundry capacitor, I realized how useful this new setup was. I no longer had to fill the tanks of this foundry at all. From there, I had to make 4 different infinity cells. The first one I decided to make was an infinite white dye cell, and after that, I made a very useful infinity gravel cell. After that was done, I set up recipes for a 5-time compressed clay block. This was of course for an infinite clay cell. The last cell I needed to make was an andesite one, and to get this thing, I used a netherite block generator, which I sped up as much as possible. I also put in recipes leading up to a 5-time compressed andesite block and had gotten the last infinity cell that I needed. That was basically everything for chapter 3. Sadly, I didn't get the cool achievement music. To finish chapter 5, I actually decided to make this creative energy battery, and after charging 4 regular batteries, I threw them into an energizer with an ATM star to get the creative version. The item I wanted to make after that was a creative capacitor from Draconic Evolution. For this, I just manually crafted all of the lower level capacitors. When I got all the items, I put them into the energizing orb, and from my storage system, picked up the creative capacitor. Next up was the creative power source, also from Draconic Evolution, and this one was super simple to make. As that was working, I had to make even more empty soul gems, and this was so I could upgrade to a creative spell book. I had a couple items left, like this creative source jar and a creative energy cell, which weren't too hard to make at all. I actually started the autocraft for the energy cell while these unobtainium source jars were charging up. Anyway, once I got the creative energy cell, I placed it in between these controllers, and then I got the creative source jar right after. The next item after that was an infinite power cell from Powa, and this was all done through my storage system. As this thing completed, I taught the system how to make creative fluid tanks as well, which would be a lifesaver in the future. The last 2 items I needed to complete this chapter were all pneumaticraft items. To get all that, I quickly blew up some iron ingots to get the compressed version, and this was used to make an air compressor, and then all of the little items needed to set up a pressure chamber. Now, to actually generate pressure, I had tons of these coal shards pipe into the compressor, and then it turned out you needed crude oil, which I thought I could get by breeding these oily bees, but for them to even work, you actually already need a bucket of crude oil, which ruined my plan. 160 days in, and it has to be blocking mode there. Oh my goodness, it actually works. Are we actually doing it? Holy crap. Making all the draconic cores? Ah, so there's something wrong. For some reason, the other one doesn't work. Okay. Conjure Village, tablet, I need that. I need an angel block. There, get to work. Okay, swab. I need villager DNA. There we go. Come here. Hey, villager spawn egg. Cool. Oh, spawns a bunch of unemployeds. Oh no, we're good. We're good. I need about 4, y'all. Hurry up, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it. Now, is it charging station? Am I right? Those villagers helped me advance through pneumaticraft much quicker. In order to make these advanced items, I first grabbed a fluid laser base and some laser drills. Using a black laser lens, I was able to start pulling in crude oil into this fluid drawer. Now with this crude oil, I had to refine it to get a bunch of different fluids, and this was pretty annoying. I had to move this crude oil into 5 refinery controllers, and on the other side, I needed to provide heat to this entire thing. Then to make sure the heat stays in the machine, I had to put thermal lagging around each side of every single controller. While that was working, I put time fluid into a creative fluid tank, giving me unlimited time wand uses. I also needed liquid biofuel, and that was pretty easy to get from this Oratech centrifuge. The biofuel was then thrown into this pneumaticraft processing plant to get lubricant. I also put the lubricant into a creative tank, and I connected that to my system using a storage bus. With this, I could make as many speed upgrades as I wanted for pneumaticraft. I placed a few of these in every machine, and I started throwing in stacks of iron blocks into this pressure chamber. Eventually, after waiting for a bit, I got this fluid called LPG, and using this thing, I could get molten plastic, which I placed into a fluid tank. After surrounding a chest with a heat frame and cooling it down, I could place that molten plastic in here to get regular plastic. This meant I could make a GPS tool and an Amadrone tablet. Inside of the pressure chamber, I threw in items that would make me empty PCBs, and that was just for the quest reward. One of these villagers' master trades was a finished PCB, which allowed me to make all of the assembly items. I set this thing up just like it looked in the quests, and then I had to place an Amadrone order for assembly programs. As soon as this drone dropped the program off, I put it into the assembler, and I was able to start making some advanced tubes. Just to get enough pressure into this thing, I did have to bring a wireless controller over to pump coal into a compressor. Also at this point, all of those iron blocks became compressed iron blocks, and I was able to make a creative compressed iron block. This allows you to just control any machine's temperature. So after putting that in this compressor, I was just able to pump out advanced tubes. After making every single annoying advanced item, I threw all of this into a pressure chamber to get the last creative item I needed. Put the ATM star in there. We did it. Creative compressor. Dude, that's all the chapters done. Holy crap. Oh my freaking goodness. We'll create an island for all these things. Look at this. Creative items. Dude, that's done. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There should be 9 things here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right there. A creative energy cell. That's crazy. And then obviously we have 10, 11, 12. Next up, yeah, these are all the chapters done. Next up, we can actually just start completing all these things. So I'm going to do basic storage next. Then armor, power, logistics, tools. We'll go down these lists. I think the only one I probably can't do is this one. Quantum armor. That's just not yet right now anyway. The first quest line I decided to fully complete was this basic storage one. Now this is pretty simple. It just involved me bookmarking an item and then crafting it afterwards. Some of these backpack upgrades were super useful, so I slotted that into my new netherite backpack. After a little more crafting here or there, I got the cool achievement sound telling me I completed the quest line. Underneath the basic storage quests were the basic armor quests, and these were significantly harder. I started off from the left side with a hazmat suit and crafted like every single piece of armor that looked easy. There was a pretty fun one to make. It was this cardboard set, which needed me to mix saplings in with water inside of a mixer. I then had to mechanically press the pulp to actually get the cardboard needed for the entire set. Another important set of armor was the pneumatic set, which I used the villagers to get the parts for. The only armor that were annoying to get were the mystical agriculture ones. I had to first make recipes for all the levels of the essences, and doing that, I was able to slowly craft all the levels of the mystical agriculture armor, working up to supremium. Also, the rest of the armor that I would need to make to finish this quest would be done when I complete like their own respective quest line. The trims would also be done for later. I decided to start modern industrialization here. The goal was just to finish the Steam Age quests. I quickly made a netherite hammer and a forge hammer to complete the first couple of quests. Behind the Oritech machines, I created a pretty large area to place down every machine I would need for this mod. To help me get started, I even grabbed a few villagers, and these guys would just get rubber sheets, steel plates, and other random useful stuff for me. After making a steel mining drill, I upgraded to an auto trader. This way I could just stay stocked up on a few important items. From there, I needed to make all the machines that the quest said, and thanks to this forge hammer, that was actually a pretty simple process. The first machine I had to set up in this row of machines was a bronze boiler, which was pulling in water and coal from my storage system to generate steam. I then piped the steam out towards the other machines. This was just a temporary setup so that these things would run for now. To complete another quest, I also decided to make a steam blast furnace, and the reward gave me a bucket of synthetic oil. I threw that into a mixer. After upgrading this mixer to the steel version, I also turned that synthetic oil into synthetic rubber, and since this rubber would be used for so many things, I put that inside of a creative tank, which I hooked up to my system. Right next to my blast furnace, I got a coke oven set up as well. And because that was a major quest, it just got me halfway through the steam age. With all that done, I had to craft a few random items and upgrade every bronze machine to the steel version. I also managed to put steam into a creative fluid tank, which meant I could power all these new machines with an export bus from the back. Since these new machines started to get a little complicated, I had to put pattern providers on top of these things to automate the entire process. Another fluid I had to get was called lubricant, and I made sure to put this in a creative tank since almost every single cutting machine recipe needed lubricant. With these 4 machines, I could auto-craft analog circuits, and doing that, I completed all the steam age quests. To just get started on the electric age quests, I first had to make tons more recipes, and all of these were just to make bronze drills. Right next to the steel machines, a couple blocks away, I set up a steam quarry. Once I pumped the steam into this thing, I threw all the bronze drills in, and I started to get a bunch of ores. I needed specifically antimony ore, which I mined, and this would be used to get an antimony bee. Getting the bee was a freaking hassle. I first set up tons of dirt nests to get an ashy mining bee. I then had to get a blue banded bee, and after that, inside of the nether, I had to use an ore laser base with a white laser lens to get nether quartz ore blocks. This was to get a quartz nest and a crystalline bee. Finally, with all these guys, I was able to breed like a tin bee, a lead bee, and eventually an iron bee. All of this was because I needed a lead and a silver bee. I actually took a break to breed my draconic bees together, just so I would have a ton of good genes inside of the gene indexer. This is around the time when I crafted the celestial manipulator, and this was only used to clear the rain. That ended up getting a mason bee out of its nest, allowing me to make the silver bee, which then allowed me to finally make the antimony bees. Using all the genes that I had piled up, I was able to max out these bees, and just like that, I had raw antimony flooding into my system. Back to modern industrialization, all of that antimony was used to make battery alloy items, which meant that I could finally craft these basic machine hulls. Thanks to this time one, I could speed these machines up, and just like that, the first major quest of the electric age was done. That was enough modern industrialization for me, so I moved on to complete other quests. First, I made more beehives, and I had no clue that my bottler didn't have any bottles, so I had to keep getting these genes the hard way. On the bright side, I did get another Patrick bee and turned it into a Starry bee who I maxed out. To make ATM star crafting easier, I set up a separate ultimate crafting table which only makes Patrick stars. At this point, I was waiting on the ATM shards to pile up, so I decided to complete the basic power quests. Everything here was very simple to make, I just had to bookmark them and craft them. However, there was a flux dust bee, and that was another annoying process. Before I worked on that though, I made a mycelial reactor, and then I crafted these 2 items for the Dyson Cube project, which basically completed the quest line. I still wanted to get the flux bee, so I went to the nether to get a glowing bee, and back home, I was able to make a stack of ATM star blocks, so I started that as well. The ATM star blocks happened to be very quick. I got like 60 blocks in under a minute. Back to the bees, I started getting a ton of redstone bees, and then I bred a bunch of them together, who I threw all into a hive, and got the genes in the hardest way possible. Anyway, I eventually got the 100% redstone bee gene, and I was able to put that into a treat and get a redstone bee spawn egg. To make a flux dust bee, I had to put the egg on a feeding slab in front of my obsidian bees, and that got me the bee that I needed, who I maxed out, and that was basically all of the basic power quests. Underneath that quest line was basic logistics, and this was all about cables and wrenches. So again, all I had to do was just craft the items since I had most of the resources anyway, which made this questline very easy. For basic tools, I could only make like some of these things, and I was able to get through the first couple of tiers very easily. There would be some items that would need to be done with their own mods, just like with the basic armor questline. After that, I decided to complete this tips and tricks questline as well, which was significantly easier. The next major questline I needed to finish was Applied Energistics 2, and thankfully it was mostly completed. I had to make 16 ME quantum links and 16 quantum rings. Then I had to make a couple of random items here or there, which I don't even think I use at all. There were also a few random storage cells that I had to craft, and the most annoying item was this inscriber name press, which took me a bit to figure out like how to get. Just like that, the 82 questline was complete as well. With AE2 done, I moved on to the bounty board quests, and thankfully, because I had completed so many gateways here, I had all these spawn eggs for creepers, skeletons, and zombies, and in like 10 seconds, I was able to complete all the bounties for these 3 mobs. Next up were spiders, so I crafted a spider egg and completed that, then did the same for blazes and wither skeletons. The last main mob I had to kill was an enderman, and this was taken care of from an enderman gateway. There's only a few mobs left, and they were all the special ones. First one was a drowned, which I did in my pool, and the last mob was a stray. This fully completed the bounty board quest line. Next up, to complete the building tips quests, for some reason I needed productive tree logs, and the first thing I did was get dark oak and jungle leaves. I then threw this pollen upgrade into a random hive, and then next to the hives, I placed down the 2 leaves, and after speeding everything up, they pollinated. I grew the sapling, turned it into logs, and that completed one of the major quests. From there, it was just more bookmarking and crafting. I did, however, have to make like a glyph of conjure mage light, but that completed this entire quest line. Food and farming was the exact same. I just went like one by one, grabbing all the items needed. Around this time, I also put this item called a wind vane next to the celestial manipulator, and this would just activate clear skies whenever it rained. There was a cool item in food and farming. It was this milk jar where I had to crush a cow with an anvil. That allowed me to complete the entire quest line, and since the blocks were pretty cool, I remodeled my home. Around this time, I had finished 90% of the basic quests, just everything but the armors and weapons. However, I did want a weapon upgrade. I chose this Aldemodium alloy blade, which was very strong. It was quickly made in my fusion crafter, and to max it out, I had to make an augmenting table. I also set up all the recipes to auto-craft sigils. Using a ton of levels, I was able to re-roll and max out each mythical affix I had on this new sword. Of course, I slotted the best gems and the best enchants on this monster as well. Before moving on to extreme reactors, I placed gold meshes on the sieve setup and started sieving a ton of sand. This got me the random armor trim pieces, which I used a ton of to get every single armor trim other than the 3 that were locked behind structures. The first tech mod I was gonna 100% was extreme reactors, and for that, I made all the recipes for a fluidizer and built a brand new area for this entire mod. The quest rewards were actually pretty easy to complete, especially at the start, but this mod would eventually be very annoying. Thankfully, I had thousands of cyanite from my large reactor, so I could also make all the pieces for a reprocessor. I would need a couple of these. The first thing I needed to do was build a reprocessor which takes in cyanite and uses water to make plutonium. Next up, I needed a fluidizer which would turn cyanite into liquid cyanite. Thanks to the creative tanks, I had infinite fluids whenever I wanted. This liquid cyanide would then be used in a second reprocessor to turn plutonium into lutecrite. For the next item, I would need a small reinforced reactor which would take in plutonium as fuel and pump out liquid magentite. While waiting for a 1 bucket of magentite so I could make it infinite, I had to build a third reprocessor since that's where this magentite would go. I also had tons of lutecrite ingots at this point as well, so I made sure that those were being inputted into the machine for later. Because I was still waiting, I even built a much larger fluidizer as well, and this was also for later. Thankfully, around this time, the magentite finished, and it helped me make radiculite ingots. Then, inside of this large fluidizer, I had to put uranium and plutonium ingots to get viridium liquid. That viridium then had to go into another reinforced reactor to make rosinite. After all of this, I could send radiculite ingots into a reprocessor that had the rosinite in it, and that allowed me to make nanite ingots. To make the insanite ingots, I had this nether ore laser base that was filled with beneditites, or however you say it, and I put that in the same reprocessor, which then got me the insanite block, which was the main item for this mod. To then complete all the quests, I also made every single little part for the turbine, and even began building it. To complete this last quest, it turns out you had to craft a task screen configurator, activate it on a task screen, and then feed that thing 1 million FE to finish everything up. The next mod I needed to complete was hostile neural networks, and I just did the main things here. First, I snatched up a creeper data module and I leveled it up. This was used to get generalized overworld predictions. Then I used that to make generalized nether predictions, and the only main thing left was to get a warden prediction. To get a ton of wardens to spawn, I placed down tons of shriekers and activated them with skulk cores. Then I fought like 5 wardens to level up the data module. Every other prediction was optional, and that would be done later. I did a bunch of random things for the future. First, I set up 3 creative tanks for all the main fluids needed for industrial foregoing. This was so I could scrap the wither milker. Then, while fishing for Patrick bees, I wanted to make all the mystical agriculture swords. This one was pretty easy. I ended up getting a supremium sword very quickly. I also made tons more weapons for the basic tools quests, and one of the weapons needed like filled soul jars, so I had to craft a soul extractor, and then I got 4 jars filled with the main Minecraft mobs: a zombie, skeleton, creeper, and spider. Anyway, after that, I wanted to upgrade to an awakened supremium sword, and to do that, I needed to create an enchanter. To make use of this thing, I also needed experience essence, and I got the seeds using a singularity tank. Once I had this thing simulating in the hydroponic bed, I could make a mystical enlightenment enchantment book. Then after throwing a ton more enchants into the supremium sword, I took out a bunch of withers who now dropped cognizant dusts. I set up the awakened ritual right on top of the regular one, and I started pumping out awakened supremium blocks. This then allowed me to make an awakened supremium sword and an entire set of awakened supremium armor. I even upgraded my fishing rod for better luck. To enchant this fishing rod, I wanted to upgrade the deep shelves, and here I was able to even make soul-touched skulk shelves, which got me some insane enchants on this fishing rod. Around this time, I fixed my bottler, so these maxed out bees were being sent to the gene indexer. This meant I could fit in a couple more maxed out Starry bees to help with the ATM shard production. When this hive was completely filled up, I could autocraft another stack of ATM star blocks. I then began cleaning up this villager island, and by using an exchanger, I started swapping out the grass blocks for ATM blocks. When I was able to fully change the top layer, I moved all of the creative items here. Immersive engineering was next, and this took me 3 hours to complete. In a brand new area, I started off this mod by making all of the multi-block structures. Thanks to auto-crafting, I could make all of the materials very easily, and to be fair, this mod didn't even ask me to make these. I just chose to, even though it took me forever. The coolest machines to make were this arc furnace and this gigantic excavator. Once every single one of these multi-block things were done, I began checking off the random items in this quest, and this part was somehow more tedious. I had to put coal coke into a crusher and then squeeze it to get this graphite dust. Then, actually had to pump creosote into a fluid tank and send that over to a bottling machine. All of this was for a graphite plate, which was needed for more advanced items. I did, however, get really cool items like a railgun, a mining drill, and even a revolver. To fully complete this questline, I needed to make bullets, and I had to conjure an island really quickly. In here, I threw down some villagers to simulate a village, and I was able to summon a raid. One of these quests just asked me to use a revolver to kill a pillager. During this raid, I swabbed a ton of important mobs, and I took out as many of these unique pillagers as I could. I did, however, have to move all of my armor stands over to the ATM Star Island, but after crafting a few more items, I had fully completed immersive engineering. Next on the list was industrial foregoing, which was significantly easier. I started off by making all the machines that I missed out on, and this was pretty easy to craft with like infinite latex. The hardest part for me was getting this sludge thing. The sludge refiner machine tore my house apart, but eventually after growing enough, I got that, and I was moving on to making these infinity items. These were actually surprisingly easy crafts. The only thing that was hard to make was the trident, but thanks to this antimatter, I was able to make tridents using this new machine. Then, once the infinity tools were done, I needed to make all the generators that power a mycelial generator. After extending this industrial foregoing area, I placed all these machines down, and I gave them all the little resources they needed. Thankfully, the recipe menu just showed me what it needed, and yeah, that was industrial foregoing completed. I'm like almost 210 days in. Turns out you don't really need power for these, obviously. They generate power by themselves. That's doing it. Alright, we got it running. Okay, we're good. We're good there. That should be... Oh, crap. Hold on. It's generating. That's industrial foregoing done. Okay. Move over the mechanism. This one should be simple, actually. we'll just do like a couple dynamic tanks and dynamic valves. Do I need a specific amount? 24. Okay, cool. 24. Pigment mixer. Wait, what's this one? Oh, HP raw. Whoa, I didn't even know you could make those. No, what did I miss? Oh, the precision sawmill. The last one. Alright, that's mechanism. Basic one done. Now we gotta get to reactors. Holy crap. There we go. Alright, let's grab our upgrades. Well, I'm running out of polonium. I don't know if I'll have enough for some of the mech suit stuff. We'll worry about that later. Is that good? Yeah, that's good. That's got it. Do we have space to build that thing? I guess we'll build it here, huh? And then we'll route that steam. 9 saturating condensers. Oh, let's go. Are we doing it? Are we dumping? No, we're not. Holy crap. Okay, so in that now we're actually dumping. I don't think we need 3 layers. This thing is making power though. Holy crap, that's hilarious. I would like to make you robot. And then digital miner. And digital miner should be good. Come on, there we go. Really don't need you at all either. Go here. Disassembler, good to go. X4. And holy freaking crap. We're good though. 3,000 energy tablets. That'll give us 32 of these. Alright, cool. Energy unit, you're good for me. We'll have some color modulation. We did it. Alright, let's make the helmet. We can do it now. So there goes our freaking. There goes our freaking real great stuff right there, man. Okay. Oh my god, here goes our leggings. Pants. Last but not least. Oh boy, let's get the boots done as well. Easy money. Charge distributor. Cool. Cool. Alright, now we can breathe underwater. Next to the... what's it called? Dosimeter. And then one gyroscopic stabilization. I don't need the magnet attraction one. Actually, that one's so annoying. I'll just make one of those. Cool, that's this entire section. Next up is radiation shielding. We need 4 of those. There we go, that's the one. And just like that, Frostwalker unit, which I'm not going to use. We gotta get this farming unit that I'm not going to use. Okay, now we actually need to find an end thing. So, let's hook this bad boy up real quick. Speed, healing, luck, submerged mining speed. That's a good one. Last but not least, boots. Helmet. So I need luck. Then I need plus 15 to all stats. Can I do one more? No. Physical damage reduced. Then we'll do more luck. Oh. Teleportation. Holy crap, how are we doing on polonium? We have 5. We had just enough for all this. That's crazy. We did it. Bro, get out of here. Sick. HDPE, reinforced elytra. Elytra unit, come on. That should complete mechanism reactors. Let's go! Look at this! That's huge. This is a massive... Holy crap. Alright, I'm gonna collect it all. That's just all XP. That's awesome, dude. If we look at our units, these are all the ones that we didn't use. Moving on to Oratech, I only had to craft some more like little modules and some random items here or there. For some reason though, the quest wanted like ore clumps, so I did that as well. And I was right back to crafting more and more of these machines. That was kind of the whole thing with all these mods. The last machine I had to create was a drone port, and this thing needed super AI chips. Once I grabbed all that, Oratech was also fully completed. Then it was time to complete Pneumaticraft and Power. To do Pneumaticraft first, I needed a compressed iron bee. So I bred, grew, and crushed as many iron bees as possible to get like as high of a DNA as I could. After getting the spawn egg, I threw it into the pressure chamber to complete this first little quest. The other quests, again, just relied on crafting or creating random items using the machines that I'd already set up. Thankfully, these creative items helped me out like crazy, since they could just manage all the temperature. The most annoying part of these quests were trying to get all the fluids. After getting this etching acid thing, I was on the final little part of the quests. This required me to make every single one of the armor upgrades. Most of these were very easy to craft, and just like the mech suit, the last upgrade needed like 2 elytra wings. One was to make the regular version of the jet boots, and the other ones were to make the higher tier versions. That fully completed Pneumaticraft. Then to complete Power, I just needed to make the rest of all these items in the quest menu and each tier of it as well. Since I had this entire thing automated, it wasn't bad at all. When I ended up getting all of the power reactors, this quest was also done. A little bit away from my main area, on a random chunk, I wanted to complete Railcraft there. This mod was super simple. I first crafted as many tracks as possible and made all the random ones required. Then, after getting electric tracks, I placed them all around the perimeter of the chunk, and I was able to power this thing and get the cart to run. With that done, I built tons of these little multi-block structures and started like grabbing every single item that I was missing from this quest. I didn't even realize I finished the quest until I was like clearing out all the items from my storage system. After doing some research, I was ready to complete the Electric Age quest line. I first began making recipes for a few key items and then reduced the price of all these trades using a converter. After getting the first batch of items in this quest tree, I started upgrading to electric machines. Now, these things don't need steam and they were powered through the pattern provider, which had an induction card. After placing every machine down, I started auto-crafting basic upgrades, which I was able to spread out into each machine. To the right of these machines, I also built an electric blast furnace, and this was at the copper nickel tier. Then, as I crafted the overdrive module and electric circuits, I also ended up getting monzonite dust as a reward. This entire mod was just me speeding up these machines as I crafted whatever the quests asked for. I even worked up to a chemical reactor, and then I needed to work with fluids. Since I was kind of doing this on demand, I started grabbing buckets of fluid, and I was eventually able to place this polyethylene into a creative tank, making it infinite. And this thing was the most important one here, I think. This thing allowed me to make advanced machine hulls, which allows these machines to hold even more power. I then learned how to silence machines and cleared out more space. Since AE2 splits work evenly, I was able to use one pattern provider for like 3 machines. For now, I chose to speed up the machines that I would need the most. That meant the wire mill, the cutting machine, and the compressors were all working at like 3 times the rate now. So around this point to complete the quests, I was just stuck on making all the required fluids. This took me quite a while, since every recipe needed like 3 more items. Thankfully, it could all be auto-crafted, I just had to set up the recipes right. After all that work, I still needed stainless steel, and to get that I actually needed chromium. So to help me, I began making tons of compressed blazing crystal blocks, and as that was working, I piped lava into a centrifuge. Eventually, the blazing crystal blocks finished and I could make an infinite lava cell, and around the same time, I was getting the centrifuge to pump out chromium nuggets. To get chromium bees, I first needed diamond bees, and then I had to set up a whole other ore laser base with a red laser lens. This was just to start bringing in ruby ores, and I was able to make 2 rubies after breeding and crushing them. I had 6 ruby eggs, which I fit into the centrifuge to make 1 chromium bee. I maxed this bee out and placed it into the hive, and it was churning out chromium dust for me. For the next bee, I crushed as many iron bees as I could and used 6 of these spawn eggs to make 1 manganese bee. With that done, I could move on to making a vacuum freezer, and then using both the blast furnace and this new machine, I could start producing stainless steel ingots. With stainless steel, I was able to make digital circuits, and that technically completed the electric age. 230 days in, I've gotten these digital circuits that completes the electric age. Not 100%, but completes it. I think once I 100% this, which is just making this oil drilling stuff. Okay, MV energy. Advanced item input. Alright, cool. Let's get this thing set up. I don't know where to set it up though. There. Finally. Oh, we're doing it. Then we got my steel mallet. Shut up for a second, bud. Hey! Hey, we're doing it. Okay. Add functional. Let's go grab a copper. And then you stay here. Induction. Oil. 1, 2, 3. Sick. Okay. So we got the vending machine set up. Gives me what I need. Is this? Like to get, I need 9 monzonite. That gives me all these, and then helium as well. Hold on, let's go back to electric age. Okay, 9 stainless steel dust. I don't need to get helium, right? Thank you, monzonite. I just need the helium. I'm really sorry. I did not mean to use it all up, but whatever. Okay, we got that. Now I need to make sulfuric light fuel, sulfuric heavy fuel, sulfuric naphate. Okay, now we need the stainless steel, and we need what other things? Advanced pump and advanced motor. 1 bucket of sulfuric light fuel. Heavy fuel done. Do naphtha. Oh my god, the thing is it's finally crafting the thing. Oh, now we're the assemblers, I think. I also need to make 5 or 10 of those. Done. Holy crap. 768 of these. Need 8 buckets of oxygen. Got it. Wait, why is that wrong? What the heck? There we go. Oh, okay, that's why. Cool. Got it. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, now I can do my oxygen. Then you're there. I need 32 of these, which we can do. Cool. Now it's in the assembler, I'm assuming. There we go. Okay. So you are gonna help me get shale oil or whatever. And we're doing it. Okay. So configure it now. You should be locked. Yep. Add. We're good. Sulfuric crude oil is what we need. That's just we need 2,000. Okay. We do 2 buckets right here. Do we get it? Sulfuric crude oil, got it. That completes all that, I think. Yeah, that's all this completed. Not bad, dude. And then now we just gotta get the other ones. Okay, cool. Done. Electric Age completed. Awesome. What are we doing on stars? Star blocks. 79k. Can we make another 64 of these? We can. Let's do it. Put that there, and then I'm gonna grab this chest that I already had. Put that in the item output. Should work technically. Got my steel mallet. Got this machine up. And we should be picking up titanium. Let's go. Titanium, montanite. Freaking go, dude. Tungsten, platinum. Yeah, we did it. That took me 20 in-game days to finish, so I took another break to finish all of the apotheosis quests. Turns out I would need infused dragon's breath, so I first focused on finishing apothic enchanting. The first thing I enchanted was an ender lead, and then I made every type of bookshelf I could at this point. I could also infuse my tomes of scrapping and make higher levels of skulk shelves. Combining these skulk shelves with the geode and cave shelves allowed me to then infuse the dragon's breath. With that, I was on to making the end shelves, and then to clean up the rest of these quests, I made the best enchanting setup. I also got a Library of Alexandria and a max level tome of scrapping. The last two items for this questline was an occult ender lead and then just a regular charm, but I decided to make it unbreakable for fun. Once the enchanting quests were done, I moved on to spawners by first crafting a solium spawner and then an entity spawner from mob grinding utils. After grabbing a broken spawner and combining it with a witch vial, I also made a powered spawner as well. Then after completing a gateway, I used a chaotic core on this Wilden spawner to get the craziest spawner ever. The last item needed a Wilden tribute to complete this entire quest line. I also had to make a turtle egg as well. With that, I could move on to the last and most annoying apotheosis quest. This is for apotheosis gears. First, I had to complete this apothic pinnacle gateway. Then I could make this endless gateway, and I had to survive 100 waves. No joke, this took me 50 minutes to do so. Thankfully, my chaotic bow did 90% of the work. I could just float around this island and survive. A little bit of the way through, I put a netherite chest down to just gather all the loot. Looking back though, I did gain thousands of levels, so it wasn't all so bad. Anyway, after wave 100, I left one mob alive, and thankfully, this sigil of supremacy had dropped, and all of the apotheosis quests were fully complete. I then moved on to Ars Nouveau, and oh my god, this was at this point the most miserable mod. And I couldn't even finish it without occultism, by the way. Using my creative source jars and some hoppers, I first stocked up on as many elemental essences as possible, and that was a huge help. Since I had the chests collecting all the essences, the scribes table would just automatically pull from that, making the whole grind a lot easier. Still, the tier 1 glyphs took me forever to craft, and these were supposed to be the easy ones. The tier 2 glyphs took me more than an hour to make because some of these items were insane to get. I had to grow like specific islands and harvest the fruit off of these trees. I did it like 3-4 times. Anyway, that was tier 2 glyphs done, and tier 3 was only a little bit easier since there were less glyphs. I first snatched up wither roses and had to get another elytra, and those all helped me complete tier 3. But that was just the beginning, since I also had to make all the essence bees as well. I first crushed tons of amethyst bees, and I got about 6 of these guys as spawn eggs. After turning them all into arcane bee spawn eggs, I had to stop for now. This is when I focused on gathering like whatever item was left, and I started trading with these shady wizards for tablets or any rare items. From there, I even got all these little ritual items, and these were just like belts and bangles and like little trinkets. This mod was so annoying, I was considering going back to modern industrialization. Also during this time, I was chopping down so many trees, I upgraded to an all-the-modium alloy axe, which I maxed out with affixes. The only fun thing was making all of these budding blocks and doing the Tablet of Awakening rituals to get all the golem charms. This is also the reason I couldn't finish this, since the last charm was a topaz golem, and topaz can only be gotten from occultism. I even set up a Drigme farm in this little area for experience shards, and around this time is when I decided to get the bees done, and it wasn't as hard as I thought. I even collected some really cool bees like a sweat bee, a nomad bee, and then inside of these empty nests, I was able to summon skeletal and zombies as well. After all that work, and all those bees, and all those golems, Ars Nouveau was done, aside from the one topaz golem. Moving on to create, this was a great change of pace and super easy to complete. I was just able to craft most of it inside of my storage system. I did have to make these crushing wheels. That was about as hard as this mod was. Well, I mean, there was also these obsidian sheets for train casings, but for sure that was it. It wasn't much longer until I completed the entire questline for create. Then it was time for integrated dynamics, and these quests were also very simple to do. I actually finished this mod so quickly that I was shocked, but I decided to get the mineral bee as well, just for extra credit. This one took a little bit of work since I had to wait for a neon cuckoo bee. With that guy snatched up, I got the mineral bee, and that was this quest plus the optional stuff also done. Then it was time for draconic evolution, and this was fun since I already had most of the items already. The first thing I did was make all of the missing tools that I needed, and I also threw in thousands of crushed endstone into the sieves. After a little bit of crafting, I ended up getting all of the chaotic tier tools, including a chaotic chestplate. I also crafted the chaotic staff of power, or draconic staff of power as they call it, which I put on the ATM Star Island. Next up, I had to grab like 800 draconium blocks and like 400 redstone blocks for an energy core. This was surprisingly easy to get. However, setting this thing up took me forever. Once that was set up, I made all the items needed for a draconic reactor to run, but I was like way too scared to set that thing up because that's the only thing that can kill you when you're like almost invincible in this game. This meant the last thing I needed to do to complete these quests was make all of the chaotic tier modules and get any other modules that I was missing. During this grind, I was able to make my bow even stronger, and I was able to make my chestplate better than it already was. For the last module, I needed another elytra wing, and that was basically it for draconic evolution. The next mod was extended AE, and I had to set up a bunch of recipes for like random items. And then I made netherite armor to set up for quantum armor. This process took a long time since it needed a bunch of singularities. Once the quantum set was crafted, I began making each and every one of the upgrade units as well. Thankfully, I had a rabbit trapped in this Drigme form, so I was able to make every single one of the units, even the hard ones. Just like every other armor, I had to go to the end again and find another elytra wing. I threw every single module into the quantum armor and completed the questline, but I wasn't done just yet. I first put mythic affixes on this armor, and then I slotted all the best gems into it and even changed the color to red. The final thing I did was make a spatial bee, turn them into fluix bees, and then crush them for the DNA. Once I got the spawn egg, I threw it into some witch water with entro dust to get entro bee spawn eggs. Then to complete the quests, I needed the combs. That was it for extended and advanced AE. Just for fun, I built and threw this quantum data entangler into the quantum crafter as well. Underneath extended AE, I had to complete iron furnaces, and this one was pretty simple. By just crafting the furnaces that I was missing, I already completed most of the quest line without even trying. Eventually, I could actually make a rainbow core, and then a rainbow furnace, and the only item left was the rainbow coal, which was super easy to get with help from a TNT. So that was iron furnaces completed as well. I had no clue how hard occultism was. This process took me so long. I tried to do Forbidden and Arcanus as well, and to do even that, I needed a dimensional mineshaft. To get that, I needed Eastnium ingots. The mineshaft itself was pretty simple to craft. I placed that down, but then the mining foliates were a little more complicated. With just a tier 2 mining demon, I was able to start getting some really good items. The most important item was this topaz. To get more topaz though, I first enchanted the next miner foliate, and that helped a lot. When I had about 10 topaz, I turned it into a budding block, and then used the Tablet of Awakening to get the last golem charm. Turns out I was missing one last item for Ars Nouveau, and that was a Starbuncle charm, so I was able to fully complete the questline then. Back to the miserable mods, I first mined these runic ores, and then by using a block generator, I was able to start getting darkstone. Right next to my occultism setup, I built a new area for the Hephaestus Forge. By looking at the quest menu, I was able to get this tier 1 forge up and running in no time. I then had to figure out how to generate Oriel, which was with these arcane crystal obelisks, and my time wand. For souls, I planted these edelwood trees for logs, and that was to make soul extractors. Using an advanced clicker and an advanced placer, I could set soul sand down and have this extractor pull out souls into a drawer. For blood, I just got zombie piglin DNA, and then I used a zombie piglin spawn egg on a spawner on top of the forge. After throwing all the upgrades into the spawner, I had a great way to farm blood as well. To upgrade to a tier 2 forge, I needed spawner scrap, so I ventured to the nether to break a ton of spawners. I actually ended up in a bastion where I picked up an armor trim that I really needed. With all these items, I could start upgrading the forge. I managed to get a tier 3 forge and completed a majority of the quests. After stocking this thing up, I went to the nether to try and loot the chests and get spawner scraps. I used the scraps for a quantum catcher, but to upgrade the forge one more time, I needed a stellarite piece. So I rebuilt this entire occultism area a few blocks down. Here, I grew tons of other saplings for the logs and started doing rituals for the rest of the chalk that I was missing. The first one was for grey paste, which made grey chalk. I then had to do a ritual for a possessed bee, and the cursed honey was used for an orange chalk. This allowed me to summon an afrit for its essence. Using that, I got red chalk, and after that I was able to upgrade to a tier 3 mining demon, and I realized I would need to do even more rituals. First up, I made witherite dust for black chalk, and summoned a merid demon. I tried swapping all these guys, by the way. This is when I got stuck, since the next chalk needed blue coral. While brainstorming, I put a guardian spawn egg into the spawner so I could level up this data module for the future. These guys didn't drop any coral. Turns out I needed to spawn a possessed guardian, and for that ritual, it needed scoots. Thankfully, with my elemental essences, I could make turtle eggs, and I set up an island in a beach biome for these turtle eggs to hatch. I actually did something pretty smart, and that was getting turtle DNA, which I turned into a spawn egg and threw it into a spawner in this makeshift beach area. Using a turtle egg on the spawner, I could make this thing youthful, meaning it only spawns babies, and anytime it grew, I had scoot. For seagrass, I farmed it all in my little fishing area, and once I got my first couple of scoots, I also had to make fish essences as well. Using this solium spawner, I had a living cod ready to sacrifice at any point. I summoned the possessed guardian and tried to get his DNA, but it didn't work. On top of that, it dropped the wrong coral. The next time I summoned the possessed guardian, I got the blue coral, which got me the blue chalk, and allowed me to do the master miner ritual. Also, the quest rewards gave me coral seeds as well, and this was ironic since it would have solved all of this before. Anyway, I quickly made a satchel for all the chalk and enchanted this master miner since I would need tons of stellarite pieces. I sped this thing up until it almost broke and only managed to get 4 stellarite pieces, but on the bright side, I could repair it. The second time around, I got 29 stellarite pieces, so I began crushing diamond bees for the spawn egg. I also mined all the stellarite pieces, which finally allowed me to progress. First up, I had to make this klebano, and this was to cook up obsidian steel. And then I threw a corruptite dust and dark matter to the ground for a black hole. After dropping XP into this thing, I got expectrified orbs, and the first thing I did was make a single eternal stella. I actually used a couple more to make a stellarite bee, and the first item I turned eternal was a soul extractor. After that, I maxed out a stellarite bee and had this guy churning out hundreds of eternal stellas. After swapping some hives around, I started pulling all these items into my storage system. I then crafted an elementarium. I also made like all of the other little things leading up to a tier 4 forge. From there, I was even able to get a tier 5 forge, and I had completed most of the quests. Since I was only missing the whirlwind prism, I decided to complete some other quest lines. First up was modular rooters, and this one was really easy to complete. It was just like all crafting. Then, because of how hard occultism was, mystical agriculture felt really easy. I started off by crafting all the random little junk items, and then I moved on to the basic seeds. The hardest basic seed here was the limestone one. I needed to make specifically the create mods honey, and then I had to mix it with lava to get limestone to start. Any animal seeds were made using the soul extractor. The absolute hardest seed to get was a breeze seed, and for this I did a ritual for nature's paste. This paste was for a green chalk, and that was used to summon a possessed piglin who dropped demonic meat. That was for pink chalk, and then I had to do a ritual for a higher tier crusher. This guy started crushing ice for me, allowing me to craft blue chalk. Around this time, I also turned all the chalks into the eternal versions, and I started doing these rituals which started spawning in like different level breezes. There were 3 levels. I finished each ones and actually got a heavy core, which would be useful for later. This is when I found a better way to get breeze seeds. Turns out a blaze bee and a water bee actually make breeze bees, so I just got a ton of these combs and those gave me like hundreds of breeze rods, which I could put into the soul jars, and that was enough to make me the seeds. The next few recipes needed tons of awakened supremium, so I got a bunch of cognizant dusts fighting these withers. Once I made tons of awakened supremium, I started crushing a bunch of these prospera bees for the spawn egg. One by one, I was able to upgrade these bees up every mystical agriculture tier. After a little bit more crafting, I finished the questline, and I crafted this wither-proof block for extra credit. To finish Just Dire things, I made a ton of the fuels, and picked up any of the liquid fuel that I also missed. One of the fluids I had to make was a portal fluid, and that was made in the end dimension, and after that, I just had to start crafting all of the junk items. With that done, I started making all the tools, and the only items left were these upgrade modules. Most of these were very easy, but the one I really needed was the instant break one, and once I got it, I put it on the pickaxe that was inside of my Geore setup. After that, I had to do a ritual to summon a possessed warden who dropped skulk sensors. After farming this thing and going to the end for another elytra wing, I finished Just Dire things as well. I completed BBL routers, which was just all crafting, and then another easy quest on that I finished right after was pylons, which was done with like 6 items. Finally, to complete Forbidden and Arcanist, I needed to do one last ritual. This random animal spawn thing was just a way for me to get bats to spawn, and then using the bat wing, I got the last whirlwind prism thing I needed to complete the entire questline. To then complete occultism, I needed an even higher tier crushing spirit, which meant I had to make an even larger pentacle, and this guy was able to crush echo shards and Isnium ingots. Those items made me a cyan chalk, and I got super lucky since some of the mystical agricultural quest rewards gave me armadillo seeds, which skipped the whole ritual. The next ritual was for this thing called dragonist dust, and that was so I could make magenta chalk, and the last chalk I needed was a brown one. For this, I had to summon a goat of mercy who dropped a cruelty essence. Using this thing, I got the brown chalk and threw all of these together into a single ritual to get rainbow chalks. All the spawn eggs for the sacrifices I was getting from the market, by the way. After that, I made the void chalk as well and had most of occultism finished. These last rituals were pretty insane though. I first had to put all the essences that I had collected and then sacrifice a villager on top to get the highest level soul gem. Using that same ritual, I then had to make some of the craziest items to get this final chalice. I had to put down my heavy core and use Aurotech to get some of these like reinforced deep slate. On top of that, I needed a bell trade from an armorer, and once I got all the items I needed, I had to sacrifice a Ravager. Thankfully, I had the DNA from a previous raid, so I made a spawn egg, which I threw into a spare spawner, and this took so long, but it was basically the last main item for occultism. The rest were like stupid little crafts, which I did anyway, and it was just like making these little satchels. And that fully completed all of occultism. At this point, my brain was fried, but I still had to finish modern industrialization, and to help me, I watched a Pilpo's video on how to automate the electric blast furnace and the vacuum freezer. I literally had no clue what I was doing, but it worked. And on top of that, I made infinite manganese sulfuric solution as well. With these 2 machines being automated through AE2 magic, I could finally move on. Using a coal and ender bee, I got a tungsten bee, and then the dimensional mineshaft had tons of tungsten ore, so all I had to do was go through all the process to make tungsten ingots. This ended up taking a while, but with 1 tungsten block, I could have this bee start producing as many tungsten dust as I want. Once that was done, I made a monzonite bee and had those combs coming into the system as well. The bee after that was a titanium bee, and thankfully titanium was already inside of this electric quarry, but making the ingots was kind of a hassle, so it was worth it to get the bee set up. With all this, I could speed up my machines to craft a mixed blast-proof ingot. After that, I made a blast-proof alloy plate and could move on to other items. I did, however, have to set up infinite helium, and all of that got me 32 turbo machine holes. This was a pretty massive upgrade for like every single machine. After making more liquids, I could even craft turbo upgrades, which were very expensive, and I only used on like the most important machines. I put auto smelter on this Geore setup's pickaxe, so this would cook some of the shards for me. Then I ran out of channels on this infinite fluid area, but this mod was actually progressing along. I tripled up on the polarizers and then built a distillation tower. The tower was just so I could collect whatever fluid the quest asked me to. The important ones would be infinite anyway. I needed iridium as well, so to do that, I made my mining demon eternal, and this ended up getting me exactly what I needed. Of course, I decided to get an iridium bee as well, and all these bees were maxed out, so I was churning things out. With that iridium, I could make monocrystalline, and then that was used to make RAM. After that, the RAM was used to make a processing unit, which completed most of the quests on the right side of the digital age. I was then able to ask the system to make 64 highly advanced upgrades, which took freaking forever. Since it was such a large craft, I actually had to cancel it and settle for 16, and I spread that into as many machines as I could, and then I was able to craft these highly advanced machine hulls, which was another massive upgrade to every single one of these electric machines. From there, I would need to set up an implosion compressor. As soon as that thing was built, I made infinite tritium and deuterium, and then I automated the implosion compressor the exact same way I did with the electric blast furnace. This machine was only used for 3 items, and I ended up getting 100 industrial TNTs. From there, I had to bring plutonium into my system, and I also had to make multiple assemblers, which were all set up to make completely different items. This way I could overclock a few machines and eventually make 32 nukes. After getting a stack of these nukes, I got an ultra-dense metal ball, then a qubit, and finally a quantum circuit. I actually ended up finishing the first part of the endgame quests before I was even able to complete the digital age. From there, I was waiting for all these nuclear reactor blocks to be crafted, and I decided to make all of these Forbidden and Arcanus armor sets. These happen to be the Draco Arcanus armor and the Tier armor. To help me out even more with modern industrialization, I set up multiple mixers who all do different crafts as well, and this was so I could start making more quantum machine hulls. Eventually, I even got all of the nuclear alloy casings, so I was ready to build a nuclear reactor. Right before I started this, I made this promethium ingot so that I could make a promethium pickaxe. That meant the only armors and tool I needed to craft happened to be the quantum set. With that done, I began building this reactor while my system made the basic uranium rods, and at the same time I got a singularity as well. It took a couple tries, but I got this reactor up and running, and the first item I needed was just regular depleted uranium rods, so I just did that. To actually complete these quests, I had to make a ton of dusts, which I then had to turn into rods, and then I fed each and every single one of these into the reactor to get the depleted version of. I think there was 4 or 5 in total, but doing this with every rod, and then also making processing arrays, finally completed the digital age quests. Before even attempting to make the quantum upgrades, it turns out I had 3 more Ars Nouveau armors, so I just crafted all of those as well and put them in the armor stands. Turns out I would need a maxed out electric packer to even upgrade my armor to quantum level, so I was waiting on tons of upgrades to be crafted. In the meantime, I fully completed the building tips quest line and moved on to grabbing all the bees nests. I also started snatching up all the easy bees since I already had a ton of regular bees inside of my chests. Most of these little guys were for the main quest, and I went right back to modern industrialization to get a processing array up and running. I chose to make this first array only 4 compressors, so I threw in 64 compressors and I got it set up pretty quickly. Alright, 340 days in, I need 1 more processing array, and I think the one I should replace is the bending machine. There you go. Okay. It needs bending machine 64. That's bending machine. Okay, yeah, the biggest limiting factor is now this. These should be live, they should be working. Let's look at the rods. Yeah, okay, we're good. I guess hostile neural network's the only one here. Let's do hostile. We have witch tier. Other guardian. No, where'd it go? Here you are. That's evoker done. And then we gotta figure out how to get polar bears. There we go, we got the witch. There we go. Polar bear. Thank you. Thank you. Cod. There we go. Oh. Where's the cod? There it is. There's the cod. There's the cod. 4 more cods. How many of the cows do we need? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. That's that gun. 5. Polar bear's done. That's actually not terrible. It was only 2 though. Oh, I didn't mean to kill my boy. Gotta take out one more. Get the basic. We're good. Polar bear, good to go. We have 1 blaze spawn egg, so I'm gonna use another one of these. Get the framework. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pig's done. Anytime. There's a pig. Another 4 done. That's this section done. Okay, cool. Two more skeletons. I should do it too. One more magma cube. I should do it. So I put one of these phantom ones, guys, in here. I literally just need them right now. And we're good with phantoms. Alright, we're good. Holy crap! They're buggy, huh? And then I'm so sorry, little guy, but you all gotta go. Cast. You are mine. Zombified piglin time. Okay. Easy money. Golem next. Oh, we got it immediately. Oh my goodness. Alright, just like that. That's, yeah, auto pin. No quests showing up, so that's all of Also Neural Network's done. Holy crap. We did it. So that's basically this entire, except for endgame. The 1 quantum upgrade. We got almost all this done. We're gonna have these done soon. Yeah, we have all this done. Basically, it's just quantum. This will be for something else. I don't know what yet, but it's not gonna be for cutting machine. I should go back here. Okay. Making. Oh. We got our singularity back. No, it shouldn't be used up. Oh my god, did it actually get used up? We did get it. We did get our quantum upgrade though. Okay, it's clearly not enough. So it needs. Oh my god, that's ridiculous. Okay, okay. I'm assuming it would work now, right? That's the biggest hole. That's a quantum upgrade. And then it needs. Requires at least 1,000. Assuming it's that. And you throw this and then another quantum upgrade in there. Should be good. Since this was the final stretch, I stopped being stupid and I had these stainless steel ingots be produced automatically. On top of those machines, I did the exact same thing, but for annealed copper ingots. Doing this, I got my second quantum upgrade, and this one was actually used for a quantum sword, which completed the entire basic tools quest line. Of course, I maxed this guy out with the best gems, affixes, and enchants. Then, while other quantum upgrades were crafting, I began working on productive bees, and this was a nightmare as well. I'll show the highlights because this took forever, and most of the bees just made by breeding 2 bees together inside of the chamber, but some of them were pretty hard. There were a couple that needed to be put in the foundry, and the one that I was stuck on for a little bit was the super experienced bee. To try and get this, I first made infested stone, and I pressed that to get nuggets of experiences. I tried striking these with lightning, but I didn't know that they had to be put in like a 3x3 pattern just yet. Anyway, I managed to get a really good amount of these bees done, and I had another quantum upgrade, which I used on a chest plate. Once again, I maxed this stuff out, and then I moved right back to making more bees. As I kept progressing through this mod, it started getting more and more complicated. First, it was just like throwing random items into the foundry, but then I started having to place these amber bees into a nest, and I had to wait for them to crystallize a cow. This was all just to make like milky combs. To help me out for modern industrialization, I made steel bees who had max stats, and I put them inside one of my hives to make me tons of steel nuggets. After that, I was able to make a quantum helmet and obviously do the whole thing, enchants, affixes. Then there were some bees that were made in the electrolyzer and others made inside a lava. The absolute hardest ones were these power bees. I had to crush 20 regular bees to get the eggs required, and then I had to make the recipes for each tier of bees, and very slowly I worked up to a nitro crystal bee. At this point, I also got the quantum leggings all set up as well. The next set of bees were rough. I first crushed this crimsite for crimson iron and then used that to make an alloy smelter. Inside of the smelter, I needed Tyrian steel, and then I had to do these rituals once again just to try and get a heavy core. While doing all of that, I finally had lightning strike these experience blocks, which gave me super experience, and I was very happy. After crushing it, I was able to make a super experienced bee as well. Anyway, I then had to melt like 2 heavy cores to get 1 Uru metal bee spawn egg. I don't even know what these guys do. Thankfully, I did get the quantum boots, which completed basic armors and the end game, which were 2 major quest lines that I've been working for this entire time. Another hard bee to make was a strange matter bee. Thankfully, I could make this strange matter infinite. And by the way, these guys had like a 50% chance to turn into strange matter bee. Anyway, using those spawn eggs, which took me like 40 minutes to get since they couldn't breed, I was able to make a promethium bee. This is when I realized there were 2 glitched quests here, the conductive alloy bee and the copper alloy bee. Both these guys are glitched because they're like the same bee, but there's no recipe on how to make any of them. That's not even the worst part. It actually took me another hour or 2 just trying to get a crimson or a warped nest to spawn. There was a 2% chance that you got these when growing these warped and crimson mushrooms. I kept teleporting between these 2 biomes until I finally got a single crimson shroom bee who I used the DNA of to get the rest of the shroom bees. To finish this questline, I still had to make all of the extreme reactor bees, and that meant working up to Inanite bee and Insanite bee. After all of that, I had to crush hundreds of more bees, and I had to make tons of eclipse alloy bees to get this time bee, and technically that completed the quest line. Aside from these 2 little guys who didn't even have a recipe. Using my occultism crusher, I was able to fully complete Silent Gears and Zycraft right after. The last remaining mods, productive trees and productive farming, were the most annoying mods ever. I cleaned up these floating islands and placed down a nest with a lumber bee in it. This thing was stocked up with a pollen upgrade, and they will be the key to breeding these trees. It took me hours just getting all the leaves, putting them together, and waiting for them to pollinate. It was so annoying. I decided to get all of these like special saplings first, which was actually a pretty decent choice. This final special sapling was called a time traveler sapling, and it looked really cool. For productive trees, there's also saplings that like require luck, so you have to plant hundreds of them, hoping you get the special variant. In the meantime, I actually set up productive farming as well. And the whole point of this mod is that these controllers would harvest crops for you, and all the seeds needed for the crops were random, so you would have to use these stupid farmers to try and get every single one of these crops, and there were so many. This is by far the worst mod ever. I'm not even exaggerating. As I was working through these saplings, I also covered the farm up, since you needed bees pollinating around the crops for them to mutate. It took me 3 hours to almost finish productive trees, and productive farming was even longer and more annoying. Like almost 400 days in. When it comes to productive trees though, managed to complete most of these. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think 10 left. I gotta get this red delicious apple, which is cherry and oak. There we go, that's that complete. Next one is, we'll get that one later. Granny Smith sand pear. Sand pear and berry cran apple. Okay. There we go. What's this one? Sand pear. Granny Smith. Alright, last regular tree that requires the breeding. Belly Naliv. That's that done. We have one last left. Oh no, brown amber. Oh, so okay, so we gotta get that guy too. So we'll do that after. Let's get purple blackthorn. Dude, Oh my god, dude. Holy crap. It's gonna take forever, isn't it? Oh, they did it. Cool. 1, 2, 3 with an Alcarinos or whatever. Okay. And then you. Oh. Oh, come on. Alright. Get to work, bud. Dude, that is like all the trees I have, not a single purple blackthorn. Wow, you're annoying. There it is, jute. Finally, holy crap. There. Go that bad boy. And that's jute. There we go. Oh my god, finally. That's what you're supposed to do. Oh, okay. Now this boy's working. Thank you. You haven't really gotten us anything important, but you're trying, which is what matters. Oh, brown amber, there it is. Put up the trees. Done. Oh, this was such an annoying. Look at this. That took forever, dude. It took me like 3 hours. And can these, at any point, can y'all freaking pollinate? I need the golden raspberry real bad. That'll complete this one. Oh, and that crashed the game. I have to turn off squat grow. Understood. So these two should mutate. Oh, into miracle berry. Oh, it's gonna work. Okay. And we just got miracle berry. Where is it? Should be here. Let's go. Okay, that's the mutations done. Oh my god, that's okay. We're deep in the mutations, boys. Oh, Concord grape. Okay. All this for freaking cornflower, dude. This is hilarious. And this thing made me blue jade corn that I have here. There it is, blue jade corn. And in order to get the next mutation, it's blue jade corn and yellow corn. Okay, so let's... Thanks for your help. I am like 405 days in. And I've gotten most of these. But this thing says Concord grapes. And I managed to get a Concord grape when the game crashed. But I need the seed version, and I'm not getting any of those. There. Strawberry completed. So, I literally, like, for some reason, this Concord grape thing is not growing. I even only managed to get this stuff because the game crashed. I can't squawk grow either because it crashes the game. This mod is, like, completely bugged. But I did get everything else. Except for cotton candy grape. I just can't get it. There's two things I couldn't get. Conductive alloy B and cotton candy grape. But everything else, let's check everything. So this is chapter 1. Chapter 2, completed everything. Auto pin has nothing. Yeah, auto pin is enabled. Chapter 3, completed fully. Oh, so that's chapter 4. So chapter 3, completed fully right there. Chapter 4, completed fully, no auto pin. Chapter 5, everything's completed, no auto pin. And then we move on to the basics. Basic storage, completed, no auto pin. Basic armor, this one was probably the hardest. Basic power, 100% completed. Basic logistics, really easy, fully completed. Basic tools, this one was awesome. I didn't miss anything, so auto pin has nothing. It's enabled. Oh, sorry, applied energistics 2. Everything completed. Let's check auto pin. Everything's completed. Bounty board. Auto pin. Let's check. Yep, didn't miss anything. Building this one was annoying. This was the one that I could have a chance of missing something, but missed nothing. Let's go to tips and tricks. Missed nothing. Food and farming. This one was kind of, this one wasn't too bad. There's extreme reactors. 100% of that. Pretty early on too. Hostile neural networks. 100% of this. Immersive engineering. Fully 100% of this. Literally grabbed every item I could. Made every one of these structures. This right here. You know, I thought it was gonna be a waste, but these actually ended up helping out with like modern, with like some of the bees and modern industrialization. Industrial foregoing, fully complete, even with the mycelial reactor, which I haven't tapped into, but this thing's awesome. Obviously, you tell me, we're done with mechanism. We've been done with mechanism. Mechanism reactors, got everything. I even got a turbine up. I mean, it's not running, but it's got steam in it. Tech, 100% done. Right here. These were all the machines that I actually needed. I didn't really use anything else. I have this drone port, but I didn't even use this one. Pneumatic craft. Now this one was kind of annoying, and it looks scary, but it wasn't too hard to make. This is it. Oh yeah, and we have a creative thing. I'm gonna take this, actually. I'm gonna put you where the other creative items were. All the creative items. That's pneumatic craft done. Power, 100% completed. This one was not bad at all. And then we get to railcraft. This one was pretty fun. I have just the most basic little train thing, which a stupid villager or a wandering trader completely ruined. I mean, it was working great, but we have an ultimate energy cube, shifting out power. Steam age, this is for modern industrialization. So steam age, this part was complete, really easy. Electric age is when it started getting really hard, and we started moving into actual different machines. So we got that. This is the one where it started getting like serious. This is what we needed the nuclear reactor, which I have like everything's fully maxed. And then that allowed me to get the quantum suit. So this is obviously the best thing in the game, right? Huge, basically invincible. But that's all the tech mods done, and here's all the specific mods. So apotheosis gear, fully complete. I got everything. I even completed. I even got this sigil of supremacy. So how do you use this? Oh my god, look at this. Every 70% crit, 70% attack damage. Oh my god. 40% way more health. Jeez. Okay. That was 2 of the sigils of supremacy that I put on these and this. As you can see, there's stars on there. 100% completed. Apothic enchanting, fully completed. Ars Nouveau, holy crap, this one was annoying, but this is fully done. Fully done. I have an entire create setup here. 2 rows of machines. Done. Almost everything. Integrated dynamics, super easy, done. Yeah, not missing a single one. Not missing a single one. Draconic evolution, fully done, with chaotic chestplate and a chaotic bow. And I have whatever. I have a ton of chaotic stuff anyway. Yeah, look, I have most of the chaotic modules. After that, extended AE, we have the quantum armor. This thing is literally the coolest looking thing ever. And we have the quantum computer and the assembler matrix, all done. And iron furnaces, obviously I have all this done easily. I have the rainbow coal, which is right here. I have the rainbow coal. We have the rainbow furnaces that we use to get the rainbow coal. After that, Forbidden and Arcanus, really cool mod. We're able to get a tier 4 Hephaestus Forge, which is one of the coolest things. Is it tier 4 or tier 5? Let's see. I got this one. Tier 5 Forge, that's what it is. They have 100 freaking thing right here. Look at this. 100 Eternal Stellas. Mystical Agriculture, I made all the seeds. I don't think I missed a single one. As you can see, with the auto pin. Didn't miss a single one. And here are all the seeds. Seeds. Every single seed that's not in here is in here. And these required like every mod possible, dude. We got that done. Just dire things. Oh, this is super easy. I even got like the instant break module for this. That's the one I was looking for, by the way. BBL router. Didn't use this at all. I don't even know what it does. Pylons. Got it all. Here's the mod that took forever. Occultism. This entire area is for occultism rituals, and up here, quite possibly the last item for frickin' occultism, I think. Yeah. B is missing. So there is no recipe for this copper alloy B, and because the copper alloy B is the conductive alloy B, I can't find this thing at all. Like, I don't know how to get it. Look, it says to acquire the B, look for its spawn egg, but then the spawn egg has no recipe. Productive farming also, I can't. This might be the worst mod in the actual in all of this mod pack. Is definitely productive farming. Look at this. I've left this for like 20 minutes. It hasn't grown at all, and I only managed to harvest 5 Concord grapes because of a glitch. So I can't get cotton candy grapes at all. Everything else is fine except for that one item. Okay, so that's productive farming and productive bees. I couldn't finish 100%. Productive trees though, I could finish 100%, and here's how disgusting that was. I filled up my entire storage system with the leaves and saplings of everything. Look at how ridiculous this is. Oh, here's also all the hostile neural networks went to. These are all the items for the for all the hostile neural network things. That's that. Then we have silent gear. I didn't make this because I didn't care, but I got everything here. And then the last thing in this is Psycraft, which I got done. So I'm only missing 2 items, which are completely glitched. I don't even know how to get them. One is just not even working. We're gonna make this entire island out of ATM blocks. There you go. I have an entire island made out of ATM star blocks. Huge. We have all of our creative items. All right, let me make sure. I have a creative source, creative compressed. I have this creative compressor, creative energy cell, creative power source. All these infinite power stuff. Literally everything. I have another creative item right here. And my creative spell book right there. Yeah. 407 days. I managed to 100% all the mods 10 to the sky. Yeah, I didn't get to decorate anything. I was trying to do it pretty quick. But that's done. This is the entire journey. If there's another mod pack you guys would like me to try, I'd love to 100% it. But thanks for watching.